Hello, this is Kimberly K. LaBoo, CEO and founder of LaBoo Publishing Enterprise. Welcome to another segment of the LPE Author Chat series, where we are interviewing self-published authors who have agreed to share their journey of self-publishing in hopes that they may inspire others to take that leap of faith to publish their own masterpiece. So our special guest today, I'm so excited, is Dr. Valeka Moore. She is a wife, a mom, a therapist, a coach, a speaker, minister, transformation activator for women leaders, and the author of The Mental Detox. Welcome, Dr. Valeka Moore, to the LPE Author Chat series.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Kimberly.
You're welcome. It's such a joy to have you with us today. So you have this magnificent book out, The Mental Detox. It's full of so many wonderful chapters about mental health, and I love it. I love the way that it's laid out. You have from reflect to release, to reset and refocus and replenish. So it's laid out like this awesome journal that you can follow for 31 days. So why don't you tell us why you decided to write a book on the mental detox?
All right. So actually, it all started years ago for me in 2013, actually. And I actually share my story in this book. And it was just a period where I had to go through my own mental detox. And at that time, I had no idea that a book would come out of it. However, just that experience years later, it was actually last year, 2017, we were getting ready to go into Mental Health Awareness Month, which is the month of May. So around that time, April, I believe, I just had this idea that, okay, girl, you needed your mental detox at some point. And there are probably a lot of other people that just need time to just reset, refocus, and just establish some mental clarity. And so at that time, I was like, you know what, let me do a group. So I did a group. I got good participation in that group. And it was the same technique. It was a 31-day journey. And I got such good feedback from it. And I was like, you know what? This probably needs to reach a lot more people. So at that time, so that I did that for a few months. But then at the end of the year, it was like, okay, this needs to go into a book. This needs to reach some people. Yeah.
That's awesome that you were able to take from your own journey. And, we live, we learn, and then we're supposed to teach somebody what we learned, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, so you did a great job of turning your experience into something that would be helpful to other people. Is the primary focus of the book for women, or is it for anybody?
Well, the primary focus is for women because that is the group that I mostly reach out to is women. However, it is for anyone.
Yeah.
I always say that mental wellness is for everyone.
Yeah.
So something that I've really been promoting this year is that mental health and mental wellness, it is just not for a select group of people or what we've been trained to think mental health looks like. And it's not just limited to a diagnosis. However, mental health and mental wellness affects us all.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if a man picked up the book, and I have had a few men to actually purchase the book, that if a man actually picked up the book, he is going to get just as much out of it as a woman.
Amen. I know one of my favorite days was day 9, which talked about releasing some emotional energy. And in that you have, when we hold stress in or even push it down deep within, it does not evaporate, dry up, or go away. It is and remains remains and is destructive to our minds and bodies, sometimes causing an onset of mental and or physical illness. And I have experienced that in the past myself and know it to be true. That is really important to be able to release and let stuff go. So I was really happy to see that as a part of your book. Good stuff in there. I have to, dig in it a little deeper in the coming months, but I just love what I saw. So was this your first book?
Well, this was actually my first solo project, so I am so super excited about it. But actually, in March, I was part of a book collaboration, an anthology that was released. So that was actually my first experience of becoming an author in March. So then this was released in September, and this was my first solo project. And since then, I have been part of another anthology.
Okay. So yeah, we talked about that a little bit on the last episode, how jumping into an anthology is a good way to start off, writing, because it gives you a little taste of it before you jump into your own project. But it sounds like to me, it didn't even take you long to spin off with your own solo project. So that's great.
Yes, absolutely, because I already knew that this book was coming. So I had actually, around the time that I was doing the groups, I had actually already started writing for the book. Okay. But, I had just kind of put it to the side. But I had a lot of the material there just from doing the groups. So, that was mid-year last year. So when I received information in regards to participating in the anthology, I was like, okay, this is good because it'll give me an idea of what I'm looking at as an author publishing my own book. So I joined in that, was really able to see what the process looked like, sort of. Because once you do your own project, you actually see more things. But it was a way for me to really just kind of, stick my toe in the water to see what things would be like. And then, once that was done, it really gave me the motivation to say, okay, yeah, I'm ready to go do this. So, yep.
So talk to us a little bit about what that feeling was like when you actually had your own work in your hand with your name on the front cover.
My gosh, it was amazing. And I actually did a video when I got the proof book. It was just so exciting, just to have it, number one, to open it up. And it's like, oh my gosh, like this is my title. It has my name on it, and I believe when I received it, my kids were there. So, I'm opening it up in front of them. So we're like all excited together, and I'm showing my husband. It was just like the most amazing thing.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. I love hearing about that. I remember what it was like for me the very first time. I scared the crap out of the UPS man because he was I'm like, oh my gosh, my book. And he's looking at me like a crazy woman. But it's always such an exciting feeling. So did you face any obstacles while writing your book?
Okay, yes, actually a couple. So one for me, like I said, I thought it was going to be so easy because I had a lot of the material already. But then I think when it goes from, okay, I've been doing this group, this is the stuff that I've been talking about, to, oh my gosh, this is going to be in a book, it's going to be in people's households and people's hands, they're going to be reading it, that it just takes on like this whole different, I don't know, like just personality. So it was just like, oh my gosh, it has to be perfect. I got to make sure that it's perfect. So is this, what I'm saying here, is this enough? Is that enough? Do I need to add some? Does this make sense? So that was one challenge for me. And then, with that, then for some reason, it was hard to get motivated to actually sit down and write. So, or to, keep the distractions from interfering. And so I did experience some of that where, I thought I was going to have the book knocked out by I believe May. And in May, the beginning of May, I'm like, all right, I really do need to really sit down and start writing. So, it took me a little bit longer to actually sit down to get focused and to write. Another thing was, as I was working on the book cover, and I was working with graphic designers for it, but what I had in my head, it just was not transferring well on paper or visually.
Uh-huh.
And so it was this back and forth process, me just trying to get the book cover to something that I like, because then by then the book was done.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to get this book cover right. So there are days where I'm like crying, like, oh my gosh, it's never gonna get right. It's never gonna get right, And I remember the day that it was like, oh my gosh, is it ever going to be right? And for some reason, I don't know why, I decided to take my children to the library that day. So I'm surrounded by all of these books, being more overwhelmed.
Oh.
All of these books. So I'm like, well, maybe I can kind of look at the covers. Let's see. That was just more overwhelming. But I had a great designer stuck in there with me. And then, I talked again, and it was right. And when it was perfect, it was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. The cover is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I always talk about that, the cover design and the editing being like two of the most important parts of that whole process. So hold it up real quick so we can see, because it did turn out absolutely perfect. It looks phenomenal.
Thank you.
I love it. I thought it was so creative, and it spoke to the title so well. So good job with sticking in there and working with the designer to get it just right, because it looks great. So you talked about some of those moments where you were stuck, where you had to motivate yourself. What were some of the techniques you used to get yourself back on track?
One thing that I did was really worked on finding a spot that I could really get, just motivated and feel inspired to
Yeah.
write. So I was able to find one spot in my house that worked sometimes. So it was my morning room off of my kitchen. I would open up all of the blinds, and it's trees back there, and it's the path back there. So
Nice.
it was very comforting.
Uh-huh.
So, if my husband was at work, my children were at school, the house was quiet, I could sit there in the lounge and just glare off, write some, get inspiration, write some more. And that worked. One of my favorite places, because at the time that I was writing, it began to get warm.
Mhm.
So, and I'm here in the DMV, so the winters can be quite cold, but it began to get warm. So, one of my favorite places to go is a place called Columbia Lake. And
Okay.
I would just sit at the lake and just have my laptop, my journal, pen, and everything. And that was just helpful. So just really anywhere that was kind of like calming, soothing, I could see some nature. That's
Yeah.
what worked for me. And then another thing that worked is just kind of, sometimes just putting the book down, not even really focusing on it, going about my day, going about life. And then God would just drop inspiration. Like, maybe you should put this there, So then I would just jot some notes down. So, of course, we're walking around with our phone. So, I have notes for everything in the notes section of my phone. And I would just jot the notes down so that when I sat down again, I could go ahead and just type them in where God gave me the inspiration to put them.
That's awesome advice. Taking a step back from it for a few minutes and then revisiting it, because sometimes you can overthink things. So being able to step away from it a little bit and then come back, with those new and fresh ideas is awesome. Awesome advice. So how have you been able to use the book since you published it? Has it opened any doors? Have you been able to use it to complement, other things? What have you been?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It has certainly opened some doors. It's opened doors to be a part of others' platforms. It's opened doors as far as speaking engagements, as far as even magazine articles.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Um, what else? Even, I feel like sometimes when we go ahead and we push through and we get some things done that God has already dropped in our spirits to do, and He just wants us to go forth and do it, that then, He downloads the next thing. And
Yes.
so, me being able to get this book out, to release this book, He's like, okay, so now you're ready for the next thing. So He's downloaded some things. So, I feel like it's opened up some other doors and avenues for projects down the road that I would also like to do, and, that are also, on the track to being done right now.
Awesome.
What else? It's absolutely opened up doors. And I mean, for anyone that's a service-based provider like me. So
Yes.
I'm a therapist, so I'm a service-based provider. And, generally, like if we go to speaking engagements or things like that, everyone has their things that they're able to sell.
Yes.
And you're a service-based provider. So it's like, okay, I work here, would love to have you as a client, or if you know anyone looking for,
Yeah.
refer or whatever. But it's always nice to have a product.
Absolutely.
And that has been absolutely phenomenal. Just another stream of income. Because what I always say is the book is done. Like, I don't have to do anything else because the book
Exactly.
is done. So it's just a matter of selling it.
Yeah, that's awesome because I tell people if you're in business and you don't have a book, you're practically just leaving money on the table,
Mm-hmm.
because people want that. And what a great way for you to be able to share part of who you are with other people in that setting. They take your book, they read it, they might know somebody else that needs it or whatever. So it's just a great extension of you.
Absolutely.
So great job with that. I definitely think people who are in business should write a book. So that, like you said, another stream of income, and it's just another way for you to share your expertise, and it adds, another layer of credibility to you.
Absolutely.
You wrote about it, so that's good stuff. Thank you. Um, so, what advice would you give to aspiring authors?
Ooh. To go ahead to do it.
Yeah.
Do it, to take the step to do it. Because for me, my story was that when I was 11 years old, I thought I was going to be an author.
Wow.
That's actually the line of work that I thought I was going to go into. I was going to write stories, or I was going to go into journalism or something like that. I always loved the English, so that's what I thought I was going to do.
Mhm.
And when I was actually getting ready to go to college, I mean, I had already filled out my college applications, and when they say, what major do you intend to go into or whatever, it was already English, and I was trying to choose between creative writing and journalism. But by the time I got to college, it changed. When
Yeah.
I was going in as a psychology major.
Wow.
And so, but even at that time, I was like, but I'm still going to write a book. So that was 20 years ago. So it took 20 years to get here. But, it was always something that was in the back of my mind. So for aspiring authors right now, what I would say is go ahead and go for it. If it's something that God has dropped in your heart, God is dropping your spirit to do, then it's purpose for you to do it. And I feel that, our stories, I mean, are so powerful,
Yes.
especially if it is, a autobiographical story where we're writing something about our life, or we're sharing information based on something that we've learned in our
Yeah.
life. That it can just be so powerful and impactful for so many.
Yes.
And so, when we have these things, and of course, I'm a therapist, so I'm hearing people's stories all the time. I'm
Yeah.
hearing people's stories all the time. And what I found is that there's so much healing in storytelling. So
Yes.
you're able to get it out, you're able to share it, and then you can start to process through it. because sometimes we can be a victim. We can become a victim to our stories. And
Yeah.
so if we're able to get it out, work through it, process through it, and heal from it, and then we're able to share it with someone else that
Yeah.
can possibly be impacted and heal from our stories too, then why not do it? Because all of our experiences are for a purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's just so, and for me as a writer, I often talk about the fact that there's healing through writing. And so it is so much power in, like you said, putting that pen to paper and getting that stuff out of you and then being able to process it. I like how you put that, being able to process it all. And then, releasing a lot of stuff through the writing process, things that you may have thought you let go of that come up in that. So it's definitely healing through that whole situation, and you feel better once it's out of you. And so I totally agree with everything you just said. And I think it's just so, so powerful. I can't even believe that we're winding down, coming to the end of our time already.
Wow.
We go so fast. So why don't you tell our viewers, and we have several viewers online, why don't you tell our viewers where they can purchase your book and then how they can contact you if they wish to stay in contact with you?
Okay, so the book can be purchased either at Amazon.com or it can be purchased on my website, which is www.doctor, so DrValekaMoore, so drvalekamoore.com. And if you purchase it from drvalekamoore.com, I can actually sign it and send it to you. So I much prefer that method, but if you're fine with it not being signed, then Amazon.com works perfectly fine as well.
Yeah. Well, that is awesome. Do you have any last words that you want to share with our viewers before we go?
I believe that was it. I think just the most important thing is, if you have a story, definitely go ahead and start writing it. Whether it comes out this year, next year, 2 years later, because I'm a therapist. So something that I tell my clients to do all the time is journal.
Yes.
Sometimes we have stories and we don't even realize we have stories. But I have had clients in the past, just from me having them journal just their emotions, just their feelings about whatever their circumstances are, that it's come out, it's turned into a book for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So, so even if maybe you're not even thinking about writing a book, something that we talked about today is just the healing power in writing. So go ahead, just get your journal out. You never know what's going to come out of that.
Yes. And I believe that's one of the chapters in your book as well, right?
It is.
That's one of the things talks about journaling. So yeah. So there, like I said, there's so much good stuff in your book. I would encourage you guys to go out and get a copy or get it from her website or Amazon, whichever you choose. But definitely, there's so much in there that is just great medicine for the soul. And so I would just really encourage, people to get a copy and be blessed by it, as I have been and will continue to be as I get through the rest of 31 days.
Awesome.
Detox. I think it's awesome. And, with all of the things that we have going on with mental health right now in the world, I think it's awesome that you have this book called The Mental Detox, because so many people need it. So I think you've written a book that serves a need that's timely right now in our society. So thank you so much for all that you do as a therapist. And thank you for writing such an amazing book.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yes. Thank you for being a guest on the LPE Author Chat. So thank you. Okay, guys, that's it. This is Kimberly K. LaBoo again, CEO and founder of LaBoo Publishing Enterprise. Thank you for joining us for another segment of the LPE Author Chat series. Stay tuned because there is more. We'll be back with another episode in about a half hour. Thank you, guys. Take care. Be blessed. Bye-bye.